Ladies and gentlemen, welcome everyone to the session on personal leadership for the global goals, hosted in collaboration between the UN Global Compact and Russell Reynolds Associates. Indeed, the need for genuine leadership has never been greater. And as we have heard throughout the summit till now, we are currently not on track to meet the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. COVID-19 is further exposing the fragile nature of our progress to date and the fundamental weakness, inequalities, and systematic racism in our global system. Not long ago, I was watching a video from the UN Global Compact founder Kofi Annan, and in the interview, he said, if the globalization cannot work for everyone, all the isms will come back. And today, we're seeing racism. We're seeing unilateralism. We're seeing populism. Now is really the time for all the companies to make leadership personal and reach their ambitions for our people and planet. This is even more than a matter of strategy, policy, and process. It's fundamentally about leadership and about every one of us, the people. Board and C-suite executives have a huge opportunity to make sustainability central to their organization's culture, strategy, and leadership. Yet, very few CEOs, board, or other senior representatives make sustainability experience or mindset a requirement. For this reason, the UN Global Compact and Russell Reynolds Associates set out an important collaboration to shift the debate and answer a very important question. How can organizations make sustainability core to the DNA of their leadership teams? I'm very pleased to introduce to you Stephen Lanton, Managing Director from Russell Reynolds, to take you through the new insights from Leadership for Decade of Action, a new UN Global Compact and Russell Reynolds study on the characteristics of sustainable leaders. After his presentation, we'll be joined by three very impressive business leaders, men and women, for an engaging discussion of what personal leadership for the SDGs will look like in action, and what next generation leaders can learn from this. Mr. Lanton, over to you.
Thank you so much, May. And this has become such an important topic that we're about to raise. And it's been a theme that's coming through from all the sessions on this entire conference so far. And it starts with the fact that the firm that I represent, Russell Reynolds Associates, the purpose of our firm is to improve the way the world is led through leadership. And the factor that we've taken so many case studies, thousands literally, of leaders and CEOs around the world who are doing this well, and we've narrowed those down to just over 50 that are really setting the pace and the example. And I'm very grateful that 3 of those leaders are going to be joining us on this panel that we can learn from them. Fazana, Chaudhary, Prakash Shukla in India, and Sandra Wu. I'll formally introduce them a little later because I want to share what we've learned. But the headline of this session is, it's all very well. We have the privilege at this forum of meeting hundreds of leaders who chose to be sustainable. They chose to have the courage of making a difference. They had a calling, they had a belief. They saw events that said, I have to lead in a way that makes it sustainable. But can we really leave this to chance? Can we really leave it to another generation hoping that there are leaders who have the same courage, the same inspiration? And what are we doing that deliberately generates the leaders of tomorrow that says this is a normal, fundamental part of leadership, not an anomaly? And our study shows some disappointment in what we learned about how the world's doing that today, but it also gave us an extraordinary insight into how we can make a difference. So I'm going to share with you, and it's going to be released live today, the study, which is what we learned from studying so many leaders who are balancing the success in sustainability with the success in their businesses as well. What are the traits? What is the DNA? And can we use this to deliberately generate tomorrow's leaders? Because what we found, and leaders were honest with us, that there is something we call the rhetoric gap. 92% of the hundreds of that we interviewed said that this agenda is critical to our business success in the future. They believe in it. But only 48% said they were actually building SDG, the principles, or sustainability alone into their operations. And actually only 1 in 5 said that they recognized that their business was currently playing a critical role in achieving this globally. So we looked further and we said, well, why is this? Why aren't we building sustainability in individuals rather than organizations? So we then looked at nearly 4,000 job descriptions of senior leaders across the world, across industries. And we found that only 15% of those job descriptions of CEOs and senior leaders actually referred to sustainability as a leader role. And even worse, only 4% of those role specifications expected competency in the person in the role, expected the ability to do this well. It's tiny compared to what we need. So the survey found, and look, we drew it down to 55 really outstanding leaders around the world that are making it work at scale, and as well as 12 subject matter experts that were pioneering in their field. This is the breakdown of what that 55 looked like. And what's interesting is far more diverse than the breakdown of the 1,000 leaders that we would look at for this study. So diversity itself is generating sustainability thinking and mindsets. So what are we doing that actually makes diversity part of the strategy of finding tomorrow's leaders? So why did leaders form? And we interviewed to find out, where did this come from? Well, we find 3 types, and it's going to be great to talk to our panel to find out what these 3 types are and how they've experienced it. The first were those leaders we found that would just say they were born doing this, that they've always thought like this, that since a child they knew it was important to do the right thing for the planet, to do the right thing for society and for mankind. And they've built it into their careers from early on. The second group we found were what we've termed the convinced. They weren't born with it, but they've learned it. They've read the case studies, they've looked at the facts, they've researched it. They've made a decision to say, I haven't experienced it personally, but this is important to me and I'm going to be a leader for it. And then the third group, these are the ones that have the most passion. We call them the awoken. Something happened to them in their lives that said, I've just experienced why the future of the planet, the future of the way mankind interacts is going to be a problem for us and I need to act. I had an experience and I'm not going to let it pass in my career and my life's purpose. Now, here's the good news. Yes, I think we presume most of these leaders were born that way. It was a calling from the start, but it's 45%. Clearly, this is a life calling. But the really exciting news is that 43% were educated. And we're going to ask with the panel, what are we doing that better educates our younger leaders to make these choices? Or are we doing nothing to educate them about it? Because there's almost half of the future leaders for sustainability sitting there ready to be educated. And for the awoken, let's not leave it to chance. What are we doing in developing our leaders that puts them into situations, puts them into countries, puts them into environments where they have these experiences for themselves? So here's another glimpse of the 55 that really shine in the world right now, of which we have 3 in front of you. Those 55 were 3 times more likely to have worked on more than 1 continent. They've seen impact on a planetary level, not a national level. Then 1 in 3 of those had experienced working in the Southern Hemisphere. Compared to the other CEOs, and we won't name them, and we won't determine how we came up to it, but they're CEOs who are not delivering sustainable outcomes. Only 1 in 10 of those had experienced working in the Southern Hemisphere. Interesting again, how that diversity of experience, as well as diversity of mindset and thinking, is playing here. And then finally, again, experience diversity. Those who are the high achievers in sustainability were twice as likely to have worked in more than 2 functions. They've been on the front lines of business and they've been in strategy. They've been in sales and finance. They've been in marketing and operations. They've seen the spectrum of their company's impact, internally as well as externally. So why aren't we recruiting, asking questions about this? Why aren't we more actively looking to find these traits? If this is so clear, it leads to more positive outcomes. So I could show you over the next 6 hours the research body that built up to the one slide I'd like to show you in a few minutes. What is it that is now showing, do we have someone who is a future SDG champion, a future sustainable leader? Well, the first thing we found when we were doing the interviews is they had a mindset that was, I believe, and I am here with a purpose to do something about it. And every choice they made, they couldn't help talking about the impact beyond their company. Breaking that down, we then found that they had multi-level systems thinking, which at the high level, some of the CEOs call it PESTLE M. They're thinking about, what am I doing that impacts politically, economically, socially, technologically, legally, environmentally, and in my market? But what am I also seeing in the systems of my company that are micro, the choices people make on the front line? The second trait we found was that, well, we call it stakeholder inclusion. Almost all the CEOs we interview talk about stakeholder management. Are they addressing the needs of shareholders, employees, customers, suppliers, communities? But the real stars are including those stakeholders in their decision making. They're building it in as an input, not an outcome that they're trying to achieve. Thirdly, they're thinking disruptively. These people are thinking, to do my job and get an A grade for sustainability, I need to change the way we're working. And interesting enough, we have this debate, and it happened in a lot of the interviews that were those that are not achieving, saying, I need to choose, do I want sustainability or do I want profitability? I can't have both. Well, our top leaders are getting both, and they're doing it in a very honorable, sustainable, but disruptive way. And then finally, long-term activation. We've got lots of leaders saying they're making decisions for the long term. I'll demolish this power station. It's an act that happens once, and long-term, perhaps things are better. But these are decisions that are active over long-term. How am I training people to switch off lights for the next 30 years in the culture of my company? Long-term activation of their decisions. And these 4 themes, I'm going to get the panel to perhaps draw on some of these in a minute. So how do we do it? We need to find ways of selecting these traits early on, and our top leaders do. Succession plan them, recognize them. Can we create future CEOs from seeing these traits early on? Rewarding them. Let's not just give the big bonuses to those creating the most profit. Let's balance that with those creating long-term profit and sustainability. And let's train and teach them. Let's educate them, because we learned 45% of those people who will be leading our companies tomorrow were looking for that. So I'm not going to take any longer, but just to show, as you read the study that we'll send out at the end, what are we learning? We can interview now on track record, competencies, and this mindset, which is reducing the chance that we might have a future leader here. And the word you won't see here, which perhaps is one of the most important, is courage. Do we have leaders that have the courage to say, I'm going to do this, even if it's against what I'm currently seeing as important? So with that, I'm very proud to introduce 3 extraordinary role models for us who have had that courage from the start. Fazana Chaudhary, the first female CEO of Bangladesh's Green Delta Insurance. She saw the opportunity to connect to a market which was women, and then realized the conditions weren't in place that would allow that market connection. And she reinvented Nivedita is an app. I commend you to download the app Nivedita, whether you will use it or not, to see how you can empower a minority workforce, youth and women. I was inspired on this with the voice of Christopher Hitchens in 2011 saying at a conference on economics, there is only one cure for global poverty, and that is the empowerment of women. And we're going to learn how Fazana has made that her purpose. And I commend you to look at the SDG report that's on Green Delta's website. It's called Clarion Call, a calling to arms and an inspiring drive. Our next panelist guest is Mr. Prakash Shukla, who is Group President at Mahindra Group, formerly Group President at Reliance Group India. 240,000 people under vocational employment in that group. And yet this is a leader that from the youngest age chose in one of the biggest industrial companies in India to do it differently. I'm going to embarrass you, Prakash, in saying when we interviewed, you said, this is not about avoiding doing things badly. This is about choosing to do things right. And I look forward to hearing some of your stories. With an MBA and a degree in chemical engineering, balancing business needs and sustainability needs perhaps is very much germane to your qualification as well. And Sandra Wu, who's contributed massively to the UN Global Compact, Chair and CEO of Kokusai Kogyo, and I commend you to look at the website of the other company that she's co-founder and director of, which is Japan Asia Group, leading the way in green energy and forestry revitalization, japanasiagroup.jp. You go on that and the first thing you see is the purpose of our organization is to save the earth and make communities green. Sandra is a member of the UN Global Compact Board, as well as the UN Disaster Risk Redundancy and the Private Sector Alliance for Disaster Resilience in Societies. I welcome you all and thank you very much for being here. I'm going to drop out of the slides and then come back into them as we rejoin the group at the end. So such responsibility on this group to make sure that when you're not in your leadership roles, there's others that took over. Let's perhaps go back to the source of this. You know, we've got these born leaders, these educated, convinced leaders, and we've got these that have had an experience. Prakash, I might call on you first. How did that manifest for you in India that's caused you to have this calling to lead with sustainability this time?
I must say that you always manage to get insights which sometimes some of us may not have thought about it consciously. But if one has to see where do you see in India subjects like sustainability getting attention of people like me, many of us come from small towns. If you live in Manhattan, perhaps you have not seen Manhattan changing in last 20 years. From Times Square to Central Park, everything in between remains the same. Or same thing is true for London, same thing is true for Shanghai last 25 years, same thing will be true perhaps for Bombay. But think of someone who comes from a school in a small town, and behind your school, you have a water body, a small lake. In lunch break, during the school break, you go and float a paper boat there. You throw a pebble or two, group of children. You go back after 20 years with your son, and you find that water body is not there. You actually find that buildings have come up everywhere. Or you look back, many such things I can share with you. They cannot be seen by those who are perhaps living in a city which would not have changed in last 20 years. For them, there is no first-hand experience. They will need to rely upon lot of statistics, lot of data. And that will convince them, if they will be convinced, any reasonable person will be convinced, though there are some who won't be convinced, but majority of us will be convinced from data. But many of us have seen it, and we don't need anybody to convince us. We are convinced ourselves, and we will do the right thing which needs to be done. I could not show my son the water body behind my school, of which I had talked about, and then I see that it's just not there. I want that to happen to others.
So it's very small town, the small town generation, we can't see the impact of it if we change that. But you say you want others to experience that. Yeah, we'll explore other thoughts, but how can you do that? How can you get others to experience such an education?
There are, when we look for people, and I would say that how we follow in our group, Mahindra Group, is that one, we look for the mindset. Does the person have the mindset? And it has been defined as one of the 8 leadership traits which we look for when anybody has to move from middle management to senior management. It is a formal requirement, and the senior or the supervisor makes an assessment which cannot be based on, there is no data for it. It is his personal assessment whether this leader has that mindset or not. And that will be made by the senior in annual appraisal year after year. That's 1 out of 8 characteristics. So while we talk about being efficient, being productive, being a team player, so like this, there are others. But this 1 out of 8, we are giving weightage to sustainability as a focus area in his mindset. These are traits. These are not goal sheets. These are not performance criteria, but the traits decide whether or not a person is ready to assume leadership, where he will be paying attention to what matters to society, what matters to planet. Up to middle management, whether he produced that many cars, that many tractors, that many scooters, that many of any units of production will continue to matter. So we believe that is one. Second part is empowerment we try to give to people. Now, empowerment is a general phenomenon which has to be culture of the organization. When you give empowerment, it actually comes into play in everything. Empowerment is not only about improving production. It's not only about doing new things in sales management. No. Once you give empowerment as a culture, the person is free to do also actions on sustainability. And he does not need to take 20 approvals to do something which he thinks is right. And he doesn't have to take approval for spending $50,000, which he thinks is right. And somebody else in his hierarchy says, well, that will reduce my profit for the year. Third is we encourage people to fail. It does not matter. Try 10 things. Some will work. And nobody makes fun of one another. You tried that did not work. Now, when you give that culture, it is again not for business. That culture will manifest itself even in sustainability. Person tries something with villagers near your plant, and something worked, something did not work. Villagers cooperated, villagers did not cooperate. That is no reason to scoff at. He will try something again. If you discourage him, he will stop trying. So I believe if sustainability is part of the mindset of the organization, it will manifest through all other actions. They will not need to be sustainability action. All the other normal actions which a business does, a company does, it will facilitate and make a positive impact in everything. This is my submission.
Just to play back, you just said some phrases there that we need to recapture. Are they ready to pay attention? What a wonderful competency. Can we see that they've been experienced, they've seen this firsthand, they're ready to pay attention? Not we told them to, but they're already instinctive. And then the word empowerment. I work, everything you just said, I'm proud to work with the board of one of the world's biggest airlines talking about this at the moment. And they have a language so akin to yours, which is you can only have empowerment if you have 3 other things. That you give people permission to use that empowerment, that you give the expectation that they're going to use that, but you also have to give them the support. And as you put, even when they fail. And without those in place, empowerment is a wasted concept. But super hearing how you've built that into the culture and the KPIs of your company. Thank you. I'm going to turn to Sandra. This source, this calling, this courage, for you, what was that, and how are you seeing that in others?
Thank you, Stephen. First of all, I would like to thank you for the great report. We will definitely share with all the members of the local network Japan here, especially the leaders. But I would like to, I think first of all, because this is the Leader Summit, I would like to share my personal story with all the participants. Maybe can provide some reference, because this is my belief in resilience, the importance of resilience and the sustainability. I was at the Great East Asia Japan earthquake in 2011 as the beginning of my personal journey. By some coincidence, that major disaster occurred on the day of my very first meeting with the UN Office of Disaster Risk Reduction, UNDRR. And from my experience as an individual and as a CEO during the days that follows and through involvement with the UNDR private sector group over the next few years, and following that, my involvement with the UN Global Compact, I have come to believe in the importance of both resilience and sustainability. And I'm still learning. I'm learning more right now from this experience with the COVID pandemic. With the UNDR, I served as the private sector voice in the DR community from 2013 to 2015. And through that role, I had the front seat view to how member states and all the stakeholders created the Sendai framework, the SDGs, and the Paris Agreement. I had the peer-to-peer conversation with really great minds, including other CEOs and the people in the UN. They're just brilliant. I was given a very special opportunity and very unique set of experience. And growing up, I have been taught that if you are given something special, you have to find a way to use it and to give something back to the society. And what I'm doing now is my way of give back what I learned. And through this experience to my company, and through my company to the society. So basically, I'm acting out of a feeling of personal responsibility to reflect what I heard and learned in guiding my business. And in this age of climate change, extreme weather, and now the COVID, I'm sure that the direction that I have pushed my company to adopt towards the integration of sustainability is also the way to business success. And as one of the CEO quoted in your new report said, I found this very interesting, if we focus our innovation on the SDGs, we will make money because the world will spend money addressing these goals. So this is my more personal story involving it. Over to you first.
No, well, I mean, it's inspiring. There's some of the words, again, you're bringing in new thinking into this DNA of the future leader, which is your conscience. And giving back to society through my organization. I'm not just going to try and do this alone. I've got an organization, I have a privilege, but I also, listening to you, I have a responsibility to use an organization to do this. And so it's very much, I like the use of the word conscience. How do we get that conscious in others? I'd like to stay with you because it's bold what you've done. I mean, you go to your website and it's bold. Our purpose here is to save the earth. And that you must have faced resistance about doing that internally and externally, having that courage. But I wanted to draw on this aspect where we've got 45% of people we can educate to get this right. And through that, perhaps the conscience and the calling come from. What are your beliefs on that? Are we being silly, or do you feel we can educate a new generation of leaders that will be able to step up?
I believe in education. I think that is very important. But before that, I would say, first of all, I think as a leader, I will lead by example. I've been very active in Global Compact, UNDRR, and the main point I usually make at this global discussion is that the best way business can contribute to sustainability is through their business strength. So in other words, I put my words out and create a situation where the management has no choice but to follow. This is something. But jokes aside, I would say what we do in our company for the next generation is in Japan, we incubate our leaders internally rather than recruiting them externally. So we encourage our potential leaders grow the mindset we require. Education play a key part in incubating the desired mindset in our company. So we educate everyone, but especially for future leaders in sustainability and ESG-based management. So we have a workshop. Workshop serves as an opportunity where we observe and identify the potential leaders. For example, like last year, we gather all the executive directors and the heads of business divisions and 100 of our promising young professionals and set them down in a series of workshops and ask them to create a 2030 vision for the company in line with the SDGs and develop a mid and long-term business plan in a bottom-up fashion. And this task was real, but it also served as a good opportunity for us to look for the right mindset. What we look for are people who are able to clearly see where we are and change and learn with the new times and the new uncertainties of our future. So this is how, but I also have two additional tips. First, so when you incubate and grow your leaders, you must have a clear and consistent message. That would be very important. So for us, that message is integrating the sustainability into the core of our business, which is very important for business itself, as Stephen, you mentioned, which is in our website as well. So sustainability is not a side issue. It is a part to the business success. And the second, finding potential leaders with the sustainability mindset has become easier since we clearly mainstream sustainability into our organization back to 2016. So since then, our new recruits, for those young generation, where we hire college graduates, have often told me that they choose to join our company because they wish to make a contribution towards a sustainable future. So we are definitely attracting the right kind of people and educating our future leaders.
And you're saying attracting, that's another phrase we need to bring in here. It's how we're attracting them. There are those people out there who are already born believers. Those have already had that. They're looking for a home. They're looking for a platform that says, I believe in this, I identify with this organization. And so the benefit to you is you're getting that talent because they're choosing to come and knock on the door. You don't have to invest in having to develop them the whole time. And I love this word incubate through a clear, consistent message. Let's bring these themes back. I'm keen to hear from Fazana.
Yeah.
Fazana, I enjoyed going to the Nivedita app, which I downloaded, and commend others to while they're literally listening to you, because I mean, you've got access in an app for women to have access to financial guidance, insurance, security, and there's even a security panic button. It's about the whole life well-being of an individual, not just, shall we sell some insurance? But tell us about how that came to you. It's been so easy for you to have just said, I'm going to sell to this group. And you didn't. You actually made it hard for yourself. But it's an amazing social impact. Where did that come from?
Thank you very much. Well, I think it's the CEO's commitment. I have a diverse work experience from microfinance to SME banking, and then came into the insurance. And in Bangladesh, as you know, 50% of the population is women. So wherever I worked, I actually figured it out. There was no financial products for women. And because diversity is very much important for growth and sustainability. Yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah. So when I came into this insurance sector, because in the SME banking, also the first women product was actually done and launched by under my leadership. So the insurance sector, when I came, that the population is more than 160 million people. We have young generation, age between 20. Under the 23 years of age, we have 65% of the population. So, but the penetration was less than 1%. So I thought that there was no. When I became the CEO, I felt that there was no insurance product for women. So I felt that how to encourage women to come out of the fortress that no one gives them responsibility or no one gives them the opportunity. So it's not selling a product, it's like selling a solution to their problems, solution to their dreams. Like, what are the issues? Security, health, access to finance, access to training, access to security and well-being, and counseling. So this is how we actually, with an insurance product, we try to encourage by bringing in value-added services, so that it's not only an insurance product, but to also it's a powerful tool which addresses their issues and leads them towards financial and social independence. This is what actually encouraged me. And of course, UNGC, being in a platform of UNGC has really inspired me to go for the sustainability, because for the sustainability, you need to encourage the women. That's how the product concept came. And of course, the panic button, because the security issue in Bangladesh is very, very poor, and then women are always vulnerable. So when we launched this, we felt, and we went through an evolution process, because the app thing didn't come at first. We just launched a product, and then we had a unique concept called, we give trauma allowance for rape victims, acid victims, and those who are exposed to road bullying. But we didn't find women, coming in. But then digital process through an app, when we actually kind of integrated all the value-added services, we kind of found women coming in. So this is how you have to really know how to address the issues that will really benefit them. So it's socio-commercial viable project that we believed in. And this is how we felt that sustainability is important. If we bring in women, youth in the financial and insurance inclusion. That is how we started. And, this has become a very successful platform for women, that giving them leadership skills, giving them access to finance, giving them, the independent, make independent decisions. Because in the app, when they go to other websites, like buying things or taking a bank loan, they don't need to ask their spouse. Yeah, it's kind of, you can take independent decisions when you're in your mobile or you're on your online, you're taking your independent decisions. You don't need to ask your spouse. So it helps them to take quick decisions. So this is, and it's a one-stop financial service platform for them, which addresses their issues. And this is the SDG we actually embedded in our corporate strategies, in your corporate objectives, that bringing in more women customers and empowering the employees. That was one of the statements, that we were the first corporate to sign the WP statement of UNGC. So that has actually, walked the talk, because the CEO commitment is very important, the mindset that, okay, this is a challenge, and then we need to kind of overcome this situation. And, innovation, outreach, and impact. These are the three keys that it really inspired me, that through an innovation, you'll be able to reach the outreach. You'll be able to include all those marginal segments which are not included, which are not believed in, that they will provide not only business growth to the company, but also contribute in their community and also contribute to the country's GDP growth. So economic and social growth is very important for sustainability. And like the other speaker said, okay, because SDG brought us business growth. This is something that in 3 years' time, when we started, in 3 years' time, women employees were more motivated. They got into the leadership positions, because those women employees, they were like really motivated to kind of help women. And then in 3 years' time, we saw that 12% of the total revenue generated by women in our company, and also generated more than 100,000 women customers across the country. So this is how, like, you know, it's like walking the talk and giving them their dream. So this is how we have lots of stories, success stories, where a factory worker, she lost her one eyesight while working in a factory, and then with the claim amount, she started a tea stall. She couldn't work in the factory anymore, and then she used the panic button when she was she was bullied by all those miscreants, and then with our help, she got a bank loan, because this is they have the access to all the banks loans and deposit products, and now she has become an entrepreneur with her some of her friends. So it's like empowering them and improving their livelihood. So this is how they're not only improve themselves,
but to harness what you've been saying there, and it's such a treat hearing you, but I can't help indulge, but the framework of the model we've learned creates a sustainable leader. And just to drop what you've shared there, we've learned that those that are really going to shine, they saw their role with multiple systems, society, technology, and you've shown that. They saw a need to disrupt, just to do it differently. Yeah, no one's got an app like this. Doesn't matter, we're doing it. We're going to do it differently because we can't do it in any other way. And this was the thing that really inspired me about what you said. We found they didn't just manage and serve stakeholders, they included it. And listen, you talk how not only you've included employees, which actually isn't too hard to do, but including customers in the purpose and strategy of the business. That's what we're talking about. That inclusion of stakeholders is really rich in your story. But above all, that fourth pillar, which is we're activating for the long term, not that has an ongoing impact. You're creating an entire new generation that 20, 30, 40 years from now are better armed to take this task on. And I think it's a super story that brings to life these four pillars. Thank you for sharing that. I want to ask the group an open question, not to anybody, and keen to get some discussion going. This was already hard. This was already an act of choice to have to say, I'm going to roll my sleeves up and do this. And now we're in the virus era, the COVID-19 era, and things changed, and we can't connect to people in the way we wanted to, and we find it difficult to unite and align. So, open question, I don't know if the right answer. Is the COVID-19 era actually an opportunity or a disruption threat to us on this path? Thoughts from the group?
Can I go? I think to succeed anything, to see an opportunity, you have to overcome the challenge. You have to see how to transform risks into opportunities. That is what we learn in SDGs, right? So at first we thought how to, we focused in three areas. First is helping out the people first. Helping all the stakeholders who are actually in the distressed areas. That we have created a platform to support all the farmers across Bangladesh. That is also there are policyholders and also they're distressed. And we did that with a mobile financial service platform. We help the distressed students and the women who are actually facing troubles. So these are the things that in 3 months' time they will overcome their challenges and get back to their productivity That was one of our area. Editing focus. The other one we have created a system through an online platform for our customers, so that communication with the customers is very important, and and supporting them in the online platform. So this is something that that helped us grow their confidence level. And the other one is employee engagement. We created a platform where the employees are always engaged in a leadership training or mental health training, which how to overcome this COVID situation, and how to kind of survive in this situation, because the post-COVID is very important. COVID situation actually changed the whole our livelihood, but this is something that will continue. So that opened up the opportunity that people can work from home. So we can identify those talents. They can stay at home and perform better. So, and also identify how we can augment the business growth using the digital platform. Because in Bangladesh, like in the insurance sector, the digital platform is like not so, largely introduced, only apart from a few companies, and people are now forced to think that we need to break the barriers and to really overcome the situation. And the other thing that through our subsidiaries, one of the was the healthcare subsidiary. Which actually in the healthcare platform, they used to send patients abroad, but their business stopped because no one was traveling abroad. So our patients were stuck in other countries. So we started evacuating. We started evacuating those stranded Bangladeshi passengers, like in Bangkok, in Kuala Lumpur, in India, and recently we actually sent all the US immigrants, Bangladeshis who were stranded in Bangladesh. We actually evacuated them to Chicago, US. So this is something that creating an opportunity for our healthcare subsidiary, that is actually kind of creating a business opportunity for us as well. We are getting requests from the ministry and of other countries, the stranded passengers from Europe and London and other countries, to help them evacuate. So that is actually opening a business opportunity for us. So I think you need to have the empathy, you need to have the mindset to help people and to include them in the ecosystem. So emotional intelligence, emotional leadership is very much important. That is actually cascaded down in our organization as a group.
I'm keen to get a voice which is, you've got the tools. Yep. Which are technology, and so your ability to lead through a system. But Prakash, Sandra, half factory workers away on their screens. How did you lose the cohesion? How are you building this virus zero as a threat?
Can I answer?
Yeah.
So I will separate the answer in two parts. One is, of course, sustainability, which is the focus of the discussion today, and one about SDGs. SDG 1, 2, 3 pertain to reducing hunger, work opportunities, reducing poverty. And COVID has given an opportunity to organizations to differentiate themselves from others. There are organizations like Mahindra Group. We took a call very early that we will not lay off people. We will work on it together, and we will make sure that nobody is deprived of a job just because of the situation where business has taken a downturn for a few months. That helped us serve SDG 1, 2, 3, and this was a matter of belief. But now I come back to the subject of sustainability. What this COVID issue has shown us the many things which people were scared to take action on, they were postponing taking a call on. This happened by default. And therefore, many of these short-term things are likely to continue in the long term also. Take, for example, work from home. It always had resistance from people that one, oh, it's only for those who want to do multitasking, they need to attend to something else while doing work. And very often, unfairly, women were at a disadvantage if they wanted to take a day work from home every week or something like that. These were unfortunate tendencies in the workplace people have. This has given an opportunity that everybody is working from home, be it men or women, be it senior or junior, be it a secretary or the boss. This has opened up a new mindset that actually there is no need to commute, create traffic congestion, spend petrol and diesel. So much of resources are blocked in commuting, a lot can be done. It opened up opportunities of fine-tuning our IT systems, our digital technology across the group. It helps that we have a $4 billion company which focuses on IT. And we actually found ways of fine-tuning how things can be done better, how approvals can be given better, how collaboration can be done better. All these are steps towards sustainability. Each one of these actions is going to make a difference on organization cost of travel, fuel consumption, and as you are seeing everywhere. Third area is travel. At the drop of the hat, people have had a tendency to travel. Now, travel was, as you know, restricted during this period. And suddenly people are discovering that they did not have to be traveling all the time. If this 20th anniversary function was happening a year ago, last year, September, I was in New York to attend the conference where a special session was actually dedicated to sustainability. Now, this year, if it was happening, perhaps all of us would have flown down to New York to attend this function, perhaps. But, or last year, or it was any one of the programs at Lisbon or anywhere else in the world. But this time, we are all happily talking. So something which many of us believed can be done, but we got overruled by the majority. No, sir, you don't understand. It cannot be done on video. Sir, believe you me, I need to go and see him face to face. Otherwise, it cannot be done. And generally, you go along with majority and say, okay, if you feel so strongly, please go ahead. Now, actually, people will have tough time after 6 months when they could do everything digitally without spending valuable resources. And I'm not resources which cause all kinds of carbon footprint all over the world. The way we do business has a huge carbon footprint. The moment your travel is reduced, the moment your commute within the city is reduced, your cars are not idling at every traffic light, you find that business can still be done. I believe this has been a huge positive impact on SDGs. 1, 2, 3, I always already described unemployment or the hunger or the poverty. But there is another SDG which has been favorably impacted. Work from home always put our ladies at a disadvantage. People said, oh, she always wants to take from home. That thing has gone out of the window with everyone working. I believe this will create more diversity at the workplace. I'm happy to say that this will give opportunity to people, and it's not only about women. Somebody disabled, you could not office. Today, the disabled will not be seen as a disability. The differently able person can do the work from home. I believe it will change mindsets for the better. We will all be more positive thinking. I personally believe if you look at all the positive sides of COVID impact, that will put us all in more positive framework. Negatives are there. I will not belabor on them.
I'm enjoying hearing the workforce in my audience of you who are going to have an awakening or not. being sustainable. And it's you're right. Sandra, I'm keen to get your view through the platform of green energy, of forest. Are there opportunities to benefit because of it? Sandra, we're getting close to our time. I'm going to ask the next question. What is our advice from you all to other generations of leaders? But Sandra, the opportunity of the COVID era.
Stephen, I think, first of all, I would like to support the previous speakers. And I also believe that I think the COVID-19 will actually accelerate the whole sustainability agenda. And I believe the positive impact might be far greater than we are thinking now. And I have come to realize that our sustainability agenda itself is based on traditional modes of working and doing business. So I think in the coming months, we will have the opportunity to rethink and reshape the sustainability agenda itself. My company, and also encourage our peer to think it collectively, because this COVID has given us a golden window of opportunity to change. We really need to rethink. And regarding your final question, Steve, I think we are all, including our colleague today, I think we are all developing the next generation of sustainable leaders. And by changing our own organization and integrate sustainability, we create an environment where future young leaders have room to grow. And the young people choose our company because of our value. So my advice and my thing is to communicate how passionately that we believe in the value of sustainability and resilience. Put your neck out. Be the one to have the difficult conversation with your stakeholders, include your investors, shareholders, your business partner, your employee, and lead by example. So we are the ones to open the floodgates so that the flood of sustainable leaders will follow.
Excellent, thank you. Well, let's stay on this. This is we would love you all to be here for another 60 years. I'm sure you don't want that, but we can't rely on that. What is the advice that says we're going to create more, many, many more like you? Fazana.
Yeah, I think the young generation, the young leaders, to become a sustainable leader, and they must have a dream to follow. They must have the willingness to overcome the challenge and the passion, because passion really drives the positive energy. Passion really leads the young generation to work until they fail, and then they get up again. So you have to have failures in your life, otherwise you won't have the learnings. So we create an environment where we have stakeholders or professionals who are coming, who have a diverse experience in other sectors. So we bring in professionals from other sectors so that they can also add value and they can learn. And because like I said, to grow and sustain, you need to have innovations. So constantly innovate and learn from your failures. And that is how you grow. Now we have a two business department that we have, like impact business department and digital. So it's kind of, from our learnings, we can we can say that all the marginalized segments, products like micro health, like in agriculture, farmers, women, and all those poor people, that will go into the impact business. That is kind of a focus. So you need to be focused and communicate. Interpersonal skills is very important. And I think the last thing would be to learn, always continuously learn, and get yourself more accustomed with the digital platform. That is something that I feel to sustain. It's really imperative for sustainability. To go in, embrace the technology.
Excellent summary. Learn. What a great word. Prakash, your advice.
I totally agree. We learn from each other. And that is why I believe sharing of examples creates great motivation all across. So if we have 42 plants facilities within India and many more outside India, we have sustainability champions everywhere. And they share their success stories. What have they done? What worked? And sometimes what did not work? That becomes a great motivation for one another. And from sustainability champions at each plant, we have sustainability leaders coming. And most important thing which I would like to mention, like we always say, HR is not a different department. It is the job of the CEO or the leader to do HR. He can't leave it, oh, it's an HR matter. We believe sustainability cannot be a department created everywhere and said, oh, he's a sustainability person. No, the plant manager is sustainability manager. Our holiday resorts, we have more than 100 in the world. Every resort manager is a sustainability champion. Our every functional head is a sustainability champion. If you create a department like HR and say now all HR people matter belong to this silo and I have nothing to do with it, I am the CEO, I am the functional head, my job is to look after business, look after production, look after sales, then that will not work. Sustainability has to be with each leader. Each one has to be fully responsible. That is one area where I am a great believer that is one area which has to be multitasking portfolio. Very often I encourage people to focus on one thing, but sustainability is one thing where I take a break and I say, well, if you were to do multitasking, this has to be one of them. One person cannot do anything. There's an English saying, one swallow does not make summer. No one person can do. We need to have 1,000 people. So if we have 240,000 employees, we should have 240,000 sustainability champions. If not 240,000, at least have 240, one out of 1,000. And that requires motivating each one of them. And leaders will emerge. No one person can say, I am great, I'm indispensable, I will do this, I have done this. It's only all of us together who have achieved anything. And this is something we will have to keep drumming it. Thank you.
Yes. Excellent. I love that mindset. I mean, let me dare to try and summarize before I invite Meng to take us to the close. What have we just heard? Create an environment for those to grow and have this choice and to do this. Help them choose to come and work with us. Communicate. You've all said that. Put your neck out, particularly with other stakeholders. You have a right to do this. The passion, the willingness, find people who can do this, and then innovate, learn, and allow people to fail, allow yourself to fail. And then this theme at the end, which capitulates it so wonderfully, have sustainability champions everywhere, not just you. And sustainability is not a department. It is the responsibility of every leader. And what are we doing that educates and motivates them to do that? On behalf of the forum, thank you all for participating in this session, but above all, thank you for the role models that you are and the choices and the courage and the effort that you've put into setting a pace for leadership on this planet. I hope people listening here are going to generate another 1,000 that want to follow in your footsteps, and it's a great privilege to be able to talk to you today. Meng, you've been watching this session, you've been watching all other sessions. Your takeaways from this, and I'll tag back to you.
Thank you so much, Stephen, and our distinguished speakers. I feel I'm really lucky because in 2015, I was honored by the World Economic Forum as a young global leader. So maybe I can represent the slightly younger generation to reflect on what I just heard from the very unique experiences from our extraordinary leaders. To summarize it, I think we need 3 shifts. The first shift is to shift from responsive leadership to a more conscious and proactive leadership, quoting Sandra, because COVID-19 really are the warning from the nature. So does climate crisis and many other crises we're witnessing today. So the responsive leadership is really to address the crisis and challenges which we appreciate. But I think we need more conscious leadership to prevent hatred, and like Ms. Chaudhary mentioned, to foster communication, and to prevent discrimination, conflict, and foster peace and love. So that's the first shift I have learned today. And second is really a shift from a weak leadership to a stronger leadership. And weak leadership looks backward and isolates. And stronger leadership looks forward and engage. Last but not least, we need to shift from short-term oriented leadership towards a more long-term oriented leadership. And this is critical learning, I think, I see all the speakers, majority of speakers are from Asia. This is based on the Asian Oriental medicine, that the short-term oriented leadership only address symptoms, and the long-term oriented leadership will address the real disease. And I also see you, Mr. Lanton, you wear the same SDG view as me. And I think in the center, it's not empty. It should be filled with leadership. And Sandra mentioned very early on that from all what she has learned, she has a responsibility to pay back to the society. So I think, for all the privilege of our speakers to have spoken to tens, thousands of participants participating in Leader Summit today, each one of you and us have a responsibility to make the leadership personal and for a global goals. So I do appeal all of you to take this leadership to share with more people when in your sphere of influence. Let's together take action to fill the SDG wheel with the leadership and really drive the wheel to roll by action. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now I announce we conclude this session, and thank you so much for our partner from Russell Reynolds, and we look forward to see the report live on our website. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Bye.